In any democracy, parliamentary sovereignty is inviolable, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar said in his maiden speech as the chairman of the Rajya Sabha on the first day of the winter session of the parliament. He chided the two houses for not taking cognizance over the last 7 years of the 2015 Supreme Court judgment setting aside the constitutional amendment to constitute the National Judicial Appointment Commission (NJAC). This is the second time in the last week that the Vice President has raised the issue of judicial incursions into the legislative domain. Dhankar pointed out that the amendment had been passed with unprecedented support by both the houses and approval from 16 state assemblies. However, on October 16, 2015, the Supreme Court ruled by a 4:1 majority that it was not in consonance with the basic structure of the Constitution and scrapped the legislation.
Honorable members, in similar vein, the Parliament, in a much-needed historic step, passed the 99th Constitutional Amendment Bill, paving way for the National Judicial Commission. There was unprecedented support to the above. On August 13, 2014, the Lok Sabha unanimously voted in its favor, with there being no abstention. This House, too, passed it unanimously on August 14, 2014, with one abstention. Rarely in parliamentary democracy there has been such massive support to a constitutional legislation. This process fructified into a constitutional prescription. After 16 state assemblies out of the 29 states ratified the central legislation, the President of India, in terms of Article 111, accorded his consent on December 31, 2014. This was culmination of a basic, fundamental parliamentary process. This historic parliamentary mandate was undone by the Supreme Court on October 16, 2015, by a majority of 4:1, finding the same as not being in consonance with the judicially evolved doctrine of basic structure of the Constitution. Honorable members, there is no parallel to such development in democratic history, where a duly legitimized constitutional prescription has been judicially undone. A glaring instance of severe compromise of parliamentary sovereignty and disregard of the mandate of the people, of which this House and the Lok Sabha are custodians. Honorable members, we need to bear in mind that in democratic governance, basic of any basic structure is the prevalence of the primacy of the mandate of the people reflected in the Parliament. Parliament is the exclusive and ultimate determinative of the architecture of the Constitution. It is disconcerting to note that on such a momentous issue, so vital to democratic fabric, there has been no focus in the Parliament now for over 7 years. This House, in concert with the Lok Sabha, being custodian of the ordainment of the people, is duty bound to address the issue, and I'm sure it will do so.
Before Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Law Minister Kiren Rijiju had also spoken against the Collegium System. However, today, speaking about Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar's opening remarks at the winter session of the Rajya Sabha, Saugata Roy, TMC MP, slammed it.
My subject already. Sir, as you know, the 99 Constitution Amendment, I have given a notice. Okay. The 99th Constitution Amendment, striking down the National Judicial Appointment Commission, which was passed by this House, was struck down by the Supreme Court. As a result of which, the Collegium System of appointing judges continues. Sir, recently, our law minister has been sniping at the Supreme Court and at the Collegium System. We did not take him seriously because he's a talkative minister, Mr. Kiren Rijiju. But now, a person in high office who cannot be criticized excepting by a substantive motion has come out criticizing the striking down of the NJAC. The government is trying to extend its power everywhere, including into the judiciary. It is not finding the judiciary pliable. That's why it is using a high dignitary to run down the collegium system. At this point of time, our party believes that the collegium system should continue, not that it is perfect, but the collegium system of the Supreme Court is actually a bigger guarantee against the tyranny of the power by the central government. I oppose the comments by the high authority and also by the law minister against the Supreme Court, against the collegium system, and I will oppose all efforts to run down the independence of the judiciary, which is one of the pillars of the constitution which this government is trying to bring down. Thank you, sir.
Ravi Shankar ji? Ji, please. No. He was then minister.
मैं एक सदस्य के रूप में अपनी बात कह रहा हूं. हम सभी स्वागत
Chair has allowed. Simple, you sit down. Chair has allowed. That's all.
सर
Please.
मैं कोई रिप्लाई नहीं कर रहा हूं. मेरा सवाल व्यवस्था का है.
नहीं, चेयर है बोलने के लिए, बोलिए.
मेरा सिर्फ कहना यह है सर कि हम सभी न्यायपालिका का सम्मान करते हैं, लेकिन प्रत्यक्ष या अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से किसी भी सदन के चेयरपर्सन को इस तरह से आलोचना करना ये बिल्कुल गलत है सर. ये हम इसकी भर्त्सना करते हैं और आप कृपया करके उसकी पूरी उसको वापस उसको विलोपित किया जाए.
Today in the Lok Sabha, he opposed and challenged the recent remarks of the Union Law Minister Kiren Rijiju, criticizing the Collegium System on the public forums. Not that it is perfect, but the Collegium System of the Supreme Court is actually a bigger guarantee against the tyranny of power by the central government. Government is trying to extend its power everywhere, including judiciary. It is using a high dignitary to run down Collegium System, Roy said today in the Lok Sabha while defending the Collegium System. However, former Union Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad then suggested that Roy's remarks should be struck off. It may be noted that recently, on at least 3 occasions, Union Law Minister and Justice Minister Kiren Rijiju has launched attacks against the Collegium System by calling it opaque and unaccountable, alien to the Constitution of India, and not backed by the citizens. However, the comments made by Union Law Minister have not gone down well with the Supreme Court. For instance, while hearing a contempt petition filed by Advocates Association of Bangalore against the Centre for breaching the timeline for judicial appointment, the Supreme Court today expressed disapproval of the comments made by the government functionaries against Collegium System.
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.